I've been meaning to ask you guys, are there any newer ska punk bands these days? We check out a lot of music from the 80s and the 90s, but the Interrupters might have just answered my question. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Low End University. She Got Arrested is from the band's second studio album, Say It Out Loud, released in 2016, and it was produced by Tim from Rancid. And I feel like I'm reading a really cool success story here, kind of skimming their bio. Seems like the band's right at home. You know, their first album came out on Hellcat Epitaph, and quickly they began touring with tons of classic bands I've already covered. Rancid, Bad Religion, The Boss Tones, Less Than Jake, Real Big Fish, the list goes on. I mean, hell yeah, that's how you get a new band going. And they formed in 2011, so it's not super new, but it's certainly newer than most of the bands we've done so far. So excited to check out something modern. Let's get to it. She Got Arrested from the Interrupters.
She got arrested for shooting down her man, U.S. Marshals.
Ooh.
Caught her outside of Spokane. She said, I do it again, do it again, do it again.
Dreamy.
I do it again, I do it again, do it again, do it again, yeah, I do it again.
Yeah.
She met like a year ago last Christmas. He drove a truck in town on business. Woo! She fell in love, or so
that's
she
active.
thought, 'cause Maryland was cold and about a...
Oh man, this has such a classic sound, you know, from a lot of the bands I reviewed, but it's got a real modern production. And I was reading the lead vocalist is Aimee. I think she goes by Aimee Interrupter. What a cool, just her voice. It's got a lot of character to it, a lot of soul to it, just in that opening bit. But I'm fixated on the bass. Has a real classic tone, teethy. I'm assuming kind of P bass with a pick thing, which I'm very used to hearing by now. But this verse riff was really having a lot of movement. But I want to talk about just that other part real quick, or at least hear it again. It kicked in just with just a nice note cadence on the walking bass lines, really driving the chord progression, establishing it. Sounds like we're hearing B flat, B flat, F, G minor, B flat, back to B flat.
Again, yeah, I do it again.
This.
She met like a year ago last Christmas. He drove a truck in town on business. She fell in love, or so she thought, 'cause Maryland
it's
was
everywhere.
cold and about it was hot. So she moved alone to the city of sin. Then got a place with him, put her chips all in. Yeah, got dark, he was a stranger.
Yeah, I haven't heard a line constructed quite like this in a while. I'm sure it's out there, but it's just really present, really audible. I can hear all the character and the nuances of the bass. Starts out with just great walking stuff. You know, just really beautifully linking the chords together. But I like this verse riff. And I think what he's doing, bass player, it's three brothers. I didn't get the first names. I was just reading this earlier. But he's kind of putting in irregular note groupings, it sounds like. So if you put some notes of, like some groupings of three in there, it kind of adds a bit of syncopation to an otherwise straight eighth note line just because of the note changes. And when you kind of put that against the straighter driving drums, it really gives an angular feel to the groove, and it can kind of interact with the vocals in a really rhythmic way without really being syncopated. So if I were to kind of tap my foot, like a really simple example of that would be like... And it's kind of what he's doing there, and I like that it's just a method of adding some rhythmic movement, but you're still playing eighth notes, and it's all kind of relying on the note changes. But it's got a melody to it as well, and almost is reminiscent of some of the patterns he was doing on the walking bass line. So, okay, I'm going to play here and kind of let it go a bit. This is real fun.
So she moved alone to the city of sin. Then got a place with him, put her chips all in. Yeah, got dark, he was a stranger. Put his hands on her in anger, and she got arrested for shooting down her man, U.S. Marshals. Caught her outside of Spokane. She said, I do it again, do it again, do it again, I do it again,
I love her voice.
Do it again, do it again, I do it again. They brought her down to the the police station in an 8-foot room for interrogation. Her fingerprints on the murder weapon. All they needed was a...
I like that he's also repeating that. You know, he could have easily come into the second verse and done something different. And there's a lot of benefit to that, but what video was it a while back? Might have been Green Day's Jar, where the bass fill, I think that's the video, the bass fill was the exact same. It sounded like, with very little variation, if any, but it was like the exact same kind of bass groove every time he did this little bass fill turnaround. And that became kind of hookish. So him coming into the second verse and repeating that exact line, it starts to become as catchy as the lead vocal. I love when bass players do that, and that's kind of the cool thing about it. Either way is really good for the song. It just depends on how it makes the song hit the listener from a bass perspective, and that's kind of how it's hitting me. It's becoming like an integral part of the melody.
Do it again, I do it again.
This part.
They brought her down to the police station in an 8-foot room for interrogation. Her fingerprints on the murder weapon. All they...
Something like that, but it's just got a nice movement.
It was a tape confession and she was bloody, beat the ears. I mean it was cold, but she cried no tears. This time it was his blood on her. She wore it like a badge of honor, and she got arrested for shooting down her man.
Good harmonies.
US Marshals caught her outside of Spokane. She said, do it again, do it again, do it again, I do it again, I do it again, do it again, do it again, I do it again.
That's cool. Love how the guitar is kind of joining in and being the walking bass line. You don't hear that all the time, but it kind of reinforces the earworm nature of the bass part right at the beginning. I'm going to say it every video. I never get tired of walking bass lines. I just love how much variation it can add to a piece. And the cool thing about a walking bass line is there's like thousands of combinations for any song. If you just outline the chords, there's infinite ways you could go, and they all interact with the band differently, especially if there's a guitar part or the vocal part. And what I was going to say earlier is I love how this little melody I've been kind of fixated on. I love how it interacts with the vocals. They're like two completely different melodies. It's almost like counterpoint. And her vocal melody was a bit more static. It was kind of hovering around 3 or 4 notes there. Then you have the bass doing these big range movements and arpeggios. That's a cool contrast. And every now and then it's like the bass will hit a note that kind of clashes with the vocals for just a second. But it's the way it's woven together is a really cool just play on melody, I suppose. Now we get into this kind of bridge section and the guitar goes down and kind of doubles that. Kind of walking it with the bass player. Cool creative instrumentation. It's got a really like fresh sound, but has a nod to the classic sound as well.
Flight risk, drove 1,000 miles in a cell for a year on trial. No regrets for the things she done. He lost a fight, she won it. Told the story, jury heard it, deliberating for a verdict. She's up for murder in the 1st degree, cause she refused to plead insanity. And she got arrested for shooting down her man. US Marshals caught her outside of Spokane. She said, I do it again, do it again, do it again, I do it again, I do it again, do it again, do it again, I do it again.
This is infectious. Ooh. Yes, that was so fun. So while I've reviewed songs that are really recent, they're all from bands that have been around for a long time. So this is definitely the most modern ska punk band I think I've reviewed. If there are more modern ska punk bands that are worth checking out, please let me know. But about the Interrupters, wow, it's got a fresh sound. It's something about her vocals. They have this kind of like the delivery is very like Joan Jett, but I hear like the punk influence on it too. It's got a lot of like soul and grit to it. And it's just a big voice, which works really well with the kind of the depth of the composition. You know, it was every perfect ingredient you could have for a ska punk song. Just like all the elements were there, beautifully represented. I can't listen to that sound, that style without smiling. It's virtually impossible. The production was awesome, and the bass player really was MVP. They all were, but I'm going to say that anyway because I'm a bass player. I loved the walking bass line approach, but he really kind of put it on steroids. And honestly, there wasn't a lot of straight walking bass lines for too long. He would kind of add some embellishing phrases, different phrases that kind of break it up, and it kind of wove together just a really melodic part that covered a lot of ground. I mean, we're all the way down here, lower notes. He was up here a lot. And it was just this kind of ebb and flow from high to low, which is another technique you can do as a bass player to really kind of let the listener know you're there. You can drive something higher if it, go along with the rest of the piece. The melodies and the verses were really beautifully woven with the vocals. And yeah, that was just fun and grade A stuff. So once again, let me know if there's modern other bands like this. I've always wondered that. We review a lot of classic stuff, but thank you guys for hanging out with me. I know a lot of you recommended the Interrupters. It was between She's Kerosene and this one. I saw this one a lot. Heard it had a great bass line, so thank you for requesting it. If you want to support the channel further, come find us on Patreon. I do full album reactions, and it's been a blast over there. Also have a lot of bass lesson content and other resources. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. I love you all. Thanks for hanging out with me today. We'll see you next time.